Thank you, Chandru. Good afternoon, students. How was the test on Saturday? Two or three questions were very confusing. Okay, the paper was difficult. I know that. Hmm. That is okay. Every now and then we can see such papers. It's okay for us. Good for our physical and mental health. Here's a Jamboard link. One of you have sent me a couple of questions, like they had doubts in these questions in the question paper. So I have started to writing some solutions for them. Okay, so this was the discussion from the class sheet that I had given you, exercise. This was actually a question asked in the paper yesterday, apparently. A solid cylindrical wheel of mass m, radius r is pulled by a force F applied to the center of the wheel at 37 degree to the horizontal. Now they did not mention whether that force has to be taken at an angle 37 degree above horizontal or below horizontal. That is not mentioned. I have assumed it to be above horizontal. I am proceeding with it. Okay. So you may try at your house, like or at your leisure. You can try taking the force to be below the horizontal and maybe see what answer you can get. Okay. And because the question is to find what is the maximum value of f, maybe in the other case, f could be less than this, and therefore this is the maximum value. Okay, so that could be the way to go about it. But please try after understanding the solution. Please try this out. Actually, question is not clear. I cannot help that, Raveen. You have to zoom it. Okay, do what you have to do, please, to be able to read that question. I really cannot help it. Okay, this is quite this is well maximized as of now. That is the biggest size I can increase it to. There. That's all I can increase it to. Paper was difficult, Sudarshan. At least these questions are quite difficult. They are like JEE advanced level questions, not mains level. Okay. I don't know about the rest of the paper. I did not see the whole paper. It was not my paper anyway. But as far as these questions that are shared to me on WhatsApp are concerned, I would say they are pretty good questions, high standard questions. Anyway, a solid cylindrical wheel of mass m and radius r is pulled by a force F applied to the center of the wheel at 37 degree to the horizontal. If the wheel is to roll without slipping, what is the maximum value of that F? Magnitude of F is what they're asking. So don't worry about modulus here. They're just talking about magnitude of the F. So don't worry about it. The coefficient of static and kinetic friction are these 0.4 and 0.3. Sine 37 degree equal to 3 by 5. You should know that. Anyway, this is how we do it. On a horizontal surface, rough horizontal surface, there is a hollow cylinder. A circular cross-section object is being pulled with a force 37, making an angle 37 degree above horizontal. I have taken it to be above horizontal. It could be below horizontal also. I'm not sure. Please check. Okay. If it is below horizontal, try to do the whole thing and find out what is capital F there and see if that capital F is more than this or less than this. That would be case 2 for the same question. Please try. I'm assuming that capital F would be less than this, and because the question is for finding maximum value of F, I'm going with this answer. Okay. So F is making an angle 37 degree above horizontal. So it has a horizontal component of F cos 37 degree, which is 4F by 5. and vertically upward component of F sine 37 degree, which is 3F by 5. And then of course vertically upwards there is normal contact force, vertically downwards there is mg, and friction in the backward direction. How do you know friction acts in the backward direction? If friction was not there, then because of this force, the wheel would slip on this direction, slide in this direction. To prevent sliding of bottommost point in the forward direction, friction acts in the opposite direction. That is the idea. Okay, and it is a friction. See, all other forces are central forces. Normal contact force 3F by 5, 4F by 5 mg, they are all central forces. They all act through the center. Therefore, they cannot produce torques here. Here, the friction produces torque. So, friction is the one which produces torque. F into R is the torque produced by friction, which is equal to I alpha. If it is rolling purely, then alpha is equal to A by R, where A is the acceleration of the center of mass. So F is equal to IA by R square, and it is a solid cylinder, meaning it's like a disc. So I is equal to mr square by 2. If I is mr square by 2, that r square get cancelled, leaving mi2. So F is equal to ma by 2. So friction is equal to ma by 2 is something that we have. And of course, there are other force equations. This is obtained from the torque equation. Other force equations are there. N plus 3F by 5 is equal to mg. So N is equal to mg minus 3F by 5, normal contact force. This friction has a maximum value, FL, limiting friction. FL is equal to coefficient of static friction into normal contact force, 0.4 N. So multiply that with 0.4. 0.4 mg minus 0.4 into 3, 1.2 F by 5. This is FL, not FL. Okay. And then another force equation, 4F by 5 is in this direction, friction is in this direction. They are acting in opposite directions and they are combinedly producing an acceleration of A, let us say. Then it means the net force F4F by 5 minus small f is equal to MA, force equation. Rearranging that, you have small f is equal to 4F by 5 minus capital MA. So you have an expression for friction here. You have an expression for friction again here from the torque equation. So both are F only, equate them. If you equate these two, you get MA by 2 is equal to 4F by 5 minus MA. From there, you get a relation between acceleration and capital F. Ultimately, I can write the value for capital M into A from this. 2 goes to this side, becomes 8. 3 comes here in the denominator, becomes 15. So MA is equal to 8F by 15. Okay. And then look at this equation. 4F by 5 minus friction is equal to MA. Instead of that MA, I'll put 8F by 15. So this equation looks like 4F by 5 minus friction is equal to 8F by 15. Rearranging that, small f is equal to 4F by 5 minus 8F by 15. 4F by 5 minus 8F by 15. Common denominator, I mean LCM is 15. 5 goes 3 times in 15, 3 times 4 is 12, 12 minus 8 is 4. So 4F by 15 is equal to friction. So here we have friction in terms of capital F or capital F in terms of friction. Capital F is equal to 15 times friction divided by 4. Okay. Now this is our final answer. Capital F in terms of friction value, 15 by 4 times the friction acting there. But the question is not to ask how much capital F is acting there. They are asking what is the maximum value of capital F. The maximum, for capital F to be maximum, friction has to be maximum also. The maximum value of friction is limiting friction. So instead of small f, if I put FL, then that would become the maximum value of capital F, meaning this capital F here is never going to be more than this. So capital F is less than or equal to 15 FL by 4. Capital F is equal to 15 F by 4, but capital F cannot be more than 15 FL by 4. Cannot be more than is same as being less than or equal to. So F is less than or equal to 15 by 4 FL. You have FL expression, bring that here, multiply that by 15 by 4. You get 1.5 mg minus this into this 0.9 F. Rearranging this again, minus 0.9 F, if I take this side, it will become 1.9 F less than or equal to 1.5 mg, or F is less than or equal to 1.5 divided by 1.9 or 15 by 19 into mg. That is the maximum value of capital F that can be That means that can cause rolling, pure rolling without slipping. 15 mg by 19. Fraction 15 mg by 19 is very, very close to 0.8. Okay, 15 by 19 is very close to 0.8. Now I am giving you case 2, second case of this question. In the question, it is not mentioned whether the force applied to the center is angled at 37 degrees to the horizontal. They have not given us that the force is above horizontal, but I have taken it that way anyway. So what you do, your homework or your work would be to take the case of capital F being below horizontal, making an angle 37 degrees like that, and try to do the same thing again and see how much capital F is needed, or is it needed at all. Okay, and see. And if the capital F needed, maximum capital F in that case is more than this, then that answer would be the final answer. But if that F is less than this, then this would be the final answer. Okay, I am betting on this one. So that F is less than 15 FL by 4 due to pure rolling. Yes, that is because of pure rolling. Okay, I got this one less than or equal to, that is from understanding that this is friction, this is limiting friction. F is friction, small f. Small f is friction, small fl is limiting friction, maximum value of that. If I say x is a variable that cannot be more than 5, and if I say y is equal to x, and y cannot be less than or equal to x. Am I saying it correctly? I don't know. See, basically FL is the maximum value of f. Capital F must be equal to 15 into small f by 4. And capital F is equal to this, meaning it cannot be more than the maximum value of this. No, it cannot be more than 15 by 4 into maximum value of capital FL. Because F is not going to be more than FL, which means capital F is not going to be more than 15 by 4 FL. That's okay. I think it's a simple greater than or less than equation. It is a simple inequation. Try to understand. Okay. Okay, so do we have any more doubts in this question? For pure rolling, static friction. Vijay Rubesh. Vijay Rubesh is asking, sir, for pure rolling, does kinetic friction work or limiting friction work? Limiting friction is only a value. That's not a type of friction. And that is pure rolling. We already spoke about it. That is a static friction that acts. We already saw the case on inclined planes where the friction does not do work and all. We proved it, no? We actually proved it to ourselves that the conservation of energy works up. At the topmost point of the inclined plane, the total potential energy is equal to the total translational plus rotational kinetic energy at the bottom of the inclined plane. We did all those questions. We found that friction acting there was static friction because it's a purely rolling question. Okay. Static friction is given there to screw with you. That's all, I guess. Okay. Portion of upcoming test. Upcoming test will be rotational dynamics, full chapter. Rotation chapter full. Okay. So today and tomorrow may be maximum by, I think today we should wind up rotational dynamics. Tomorrow maybe we'll do. Okay, but I think we should start gravitation as soon as possible. Yeah, we'll be going a little swiftly. Let us do that. Okay, another question that was given to me as doubt was this. A wedge. Wedge basically means a triangular piece. Okay. A wedge in the form of an equilateral triangle is placed on a rough horizontal surface, as shown. For what value of coefficient of friction mu can the block topple without slipping? What do we mean by topple? In English, toppling means, let me give you a definition. I'll give you a proper definition. Overbalance or cause to overbalance and fall. Okay. Overthrow. These are all some of the synonyms for topple. In Tamil, it is called tadikki vidra. if an object has to topple, then it should not slip at all. Okay, when you're applying a force on this object, this force shouldn't be able to cause an acceleration in the object, but the point which is in contact with the surface should get stuck to the surface, moving the whole body as if the object is rotating about this point. The triangle will become like this. It's like when you're going on a bike and you're going pretty fast and you apply your front wheel brakes suddenly, then your bike is prone or is vulnerable to toppling. That is called as toppling. If anything should make sense, that should make sense. Okay? Slip is completely different. Slip is different. Do we understand the word toppling first? So let me draw the situation actually. It is a triangular object that is given. Centroid is the point where the center of mass locates. So what are the forces acting on that equilateral triangular wedge? There is an mg force acting vertically downwards through its center of mass. Vijay Nivas is asking this. So topple is not by case of slipping. No, topple is not about slipping. Does it happen when a person keep his leg in forward and makes a person running fast fall down? When you're running fast, you come across a pipe, horizontal pipe that you did not see, and you did not step on it correctly. Your leg got stuck or something, and then you fall to the front. That is called as toppling. Okay, toppling has nothing to do with slipping. Yeah. Mg acts vertically downwards to the center of mass, which is the center of gravity, and there is a force capital F being exerted at the topmost point of the equilateral triangle. What other forces will be acting? There is another force which is the normal contact force. We'll draw that soon. But you tell me, if the normal contact force acts through the center of gravity, and above, there is a friction also. If I'm pushing this rightwards, there is a friction acting on it leftwards. So there is a friction acting on it leftwards. Yes, like this. There is a normal contact force also acting on the triangle, but let us see how or where it acts. Okay. Now this whole discussion is going to depend on the fact that normal contact force is a self-adjusting force. Do we remember that adjective or title that we have given to some forces? We have given that title to a couple of forces. Do you remember them? Normal contact force is a self-adjusting force. Not all forces are adjusting. Normal contact force does not have a formula. Like static friction, like tension, normal contact force is a self-adjusting force. Now, beauty of that is the normal contact force not only adjusts its magnitude according to the situation, it can actually adjust its point of application. It can actually adjust its point of application, not just magnitude. Okay? Direction cannot be adjusted. Direction will always be perpendicular to the surface. That is why it's called normal contact force. Normal contact force always acts perpendicular to the surfaces in contact. However, the point where it acts can actually change. That depends on how many points or which point actually is in contact with the surface. Now, see what happens. Because of these three forces, and there is actually normal contact force also vertically upwards, let us say, acting to the center of mass, let us say. Then about center, is there any rotation? About center, normal contact force cannot cause any rotation because it is acting through it. About center, mg cannot cause any rotation because it is acting through it. About center, this force here, no, capital F. About center, this force produces a torque. Can someone tell me in what direction? About center, this force F causes a rotation in what direction? Clockwise, that's right. About center, friction causes rotation in what direction? About center, this force causes rotation in which direction? Again, clockwise. Clockwise only. About this point, this friction makes the object want to rotate in the clockwise direction, which means there are four forces: capital F, small f, mg, and normal contact force. There are four forces, out of which if mg acts through center, mg surely acts through center. If normal contact force acts through center, then n and mg do not produce torques, and f and small f produce clockwise torques, both of them. Which means about center, the object will start rotating, no? There is a torque produced by capital F and small f here. Net torque will be clockwise only, which means the object will start rotating in this direction instantaneously, just at the moment. Now, when it starts rotating in the clockwise direction, this base here starts lifting up like this. The base kind of lifts up like this, which means all the points on the base kind of lose contact with the surface, having only one point, this one particular point, in contact with the surface. If only this point is going to be in contact with the surface, normal contact force should act there, no? If only that rightmost point is going to have a contact with the surface, then the normal contact force shall act through that particular point. Then now what happens is, mg acts through center, so it produces no torque. About center, F produces clockwise torque. About center, small f produces clockwise torque. But now about center, it is possible for normal contact force to produce an anti-clockwise torque. So if the normal contact force was acting through the center, then these two forces produce clockwise torques and make the object rotate. To make sure that these torques are balanced out, normal contact force shifts to the right. Why? If the normal contact force does not act through this point, center, but rather act through some other point to the right, then it can produce as a counterclockwise torque, anti-clockwise torque, and balance out the other two torques produced by capital F and small f. But then how far to the right can it go? Normal contact force cannot act here. Okay, normal contact force must be acting on the object. It must act at any point in the object, particularly that point which is in contact, surely, with the surface. This point is never going to go out of contact with the surface. So normal contact force acts through this point ultimately. Understood? Normal contact force can act through this point also. Normal contact, if you want to do that situation, no, I'll do that also. Wait. Basically, normal contact force acts through a point that is to the right of center of mass. Why? If normal contact force acts at a certain distance, like for example, this is, let us say A or maybe X. Let us say this distance is X. The whole side of the triangle is, let us say, A. If the normal contact force acts through a distance X from the center horizontally, then normal contact force can produce a torque of N into X in the anti-clockwise direction, and thereby tries to balance out these forces. Now see what are the force equations. There cannot be vertical motion. Vertical motion cannot happen. That basically means M is equal to mg. Similarly, horizontal motion cannot happen here. We are not talking about slipping at all. There is no slip at all. So there is no horizontal motion also. Reason? No slipping. That basically means capital F is equal to small f. Right? Now about center O, torque due to capital F is equal to how much? Capital F into A by root 3. Is it not? If this is an equilateral triangle of side A, then this whole thing is called as the altitude H. H is equal to, this is 30 degree. Therefore, H is equal to A cos 30 degree, which is equal to root 3 times A by 2. H is equal to root 3 times A by 2. and I want only this much of distance. Let us call that um, AG, capital AG. This is vertex A, this is centroid G. AG is equal to 2/3 of H, because centroid divides the median in the ratio 2:1. That's why 2H by 3. So basically 2 by 3 into root 3 times A by 2. The 2's get cancelled. AG is equal to A by root 3. This is simple geometry or trigonometry, whatever you may call it. So torque due to F is equal to F into particular distance from the point to the line of action of the force. This is nothing but A by root 3. So the torque due to capital F is capital F into A by root 3 clockwise. Similarly, torque due to small f is equal to small f into how much? This distance, the remaining distance. What will be the remaining distance now? If I call this as h, capital H, then gh is equal to root 3 a by 2 minus a by root 3 is equal to 3a by 3a minus a, 2a by 2 root 3. Right? No. 3a minus 2a, a by 2 root 3. Sorry, it should be half of that. Oh, yes. So GH is equal to A by 2 root 3, which means small f, torque due to small f is small f into A by 2 root 3. This is also a clockwise torque. So the total clockwise torque acting on the object is equal to, add them up, total clockwise torque. Now we already wrote F is equal to small f. So this can be rewritten with, this can be replaced with capital F itself. So FA by root 3, FA by 2 root 3. If you add them, you get 3 capital F A by 2 root 3 or root 3 capital F A by 2. This is the total clockwise torque acting on the object. Now we want the object not to topple, or that's what we want to see, whether it topples or not. For object to not topple, the total torque must become 0. There must exist a or an anti-clockwise torque. Who can produce the torque now? Capital F and small f are producing clockwise torques. Mg cannot produce torque. Now only capital N can adjust itself. Mg cannot adjust. Capital N can adjust, but can it adjust in the value? N must be equal to Mg to maintain no vertical motion. N must be equal to Mg. Now capital N cannot adjust its magnitude. So it tries to adjust the line of action of capital N. Okay, so it adjusts its line of action now. There must exist an anti-clockwise torque, possibly by capital N. Okay, so at a distance x. So you could say anti-clockwise torque is equal to, how much will it be? Capital N into x. Anti-clockwise torque means what? Force capital N into perpendicular distance from O to the line of action of the force, x, N into x. So for no toppling condition, Nx must be equal to root 3 times F into A by 2. This implies N is equal to, or let's say X is equal to root 3 times Fa by 2 capital N. Okay, and friction here, the maximum value of friction, Fl is equal to mu into capital N, which is equal to mu into mg. So basically normal contact force is related to Fl. If normal contact force can be replaced or used instead of friction there. Okay, so basically we can prove that x cannot be more than A by 2. I think we have a lot to write. No slipping is acting. For what value of coefficient of friction can the block topple without slipping? It has to topple, it seems. I don't have to do the not toppling condition there. Okay, I'll go with the other condition. For the object to topple, let us say. All these things are fine, no problem. But in fact, I didn't have to find the torque about center also. Right. The object is toppling, right? Which means I can find the torques about that end point. If I call this end point as point P, this one. If the object topples, then it rotates about P. Okay, if it has to rotate about P, then about point P, F produces clockwise torque. About point P, friction does not produce a torque because it passes through point P. About point P, normal contact force cannot produce torque because now the normal contact force will act through the center, through the point P. X is equal to A by 2 now. Normal contact force will have to act through the point of contact because there's the only point that is in contact with the surface. Anyway, the other things that I wrote, no, but the distance x and all, those are basically things to show that normal contact force can act through a different line, but here it's not required. So I'll go with the extreme condition directly. Here the toppling is happening, I'm assuming, which means the only point in contact is basically point P, which means normal contact force must act through point P itself. So what happens is now, about point P, N does not produce torque, F does not produce torque, small f, but capital F produces a clockwise torque and mg produces an anti-clockwise torque. About point P, now mg can produce a torque. But what's the point of this? How can I find friction from there? Okay, anyway, the torque due to capital F must be more than or equal to torque due to mg. Correct, no? If the toppling has to take place, then this clockwise torque should be more than this anti-clockwise torque. Only then the toppling takes place. For that to happen, capital F multiplied by torque due to capital F is how much? F into perpendicular distance from point P to the line of action of the F. This distance is √3a by 2. So F into √3a by 2, this is torque due to capital F, must be more than or equal to torque due to mg. Mg force is this, perpendicular distance from P to the line of action of mg is a by 2. So this is mg into a by 2. A by 2's get cancelled. So we basically have capital F is greater than or equal to mg by √3. And we already wrote F is equal to F. We already wrote capital F is equal to small f, which means small f is greater than or equal to mg by √3 is what we are having. Okay. Now, if the maximum value of friction is less than this, see what we got getting here. If the object has to topple, the friction acting here must be more than mg by √3, it seems. Friction has to be a minimum of mg by √3. If the limiting friction is less than mg by √3, then friction can never be more than mg by √3, right? If the limiting friction is less than mg by √3, then friction can never be more than mg by √3 and toppling can never take place. So for toppling to take place, limiting friction should be at least mg by √3. The friction has to be more than or equal to mg by √3. Okay, limiting friction is the maximum value of friction, the highest that the friction can be. The highest the friction can be, at least a minimum of this. Are you getting this? FL must be more than or equal to mg by √3. If FL is less than mg by √3, then small f can never be more than or equal to mg by √3. Anyway, FL is more than or equal to mg by √3. What is FL? FL is mu into m is more than or equal to mg by √3. And we already wrote n is equal to mg. So mu into mg is greater than or equal to mg by √3. So mu must be greater than or equal to 1 by √3 is what I'm getting. So coefficient of friction must be a minimum of 1 by √3 there for toppling to take place. Okay, coefficient of friction in that question must be a minimum of 1 by root 3 for the toppling to take place. Now, do we understand? Because this is a question of minimums and maximums, I was able to directly take the extreme condition. N is acting at the rightmost point of the object. But if this was not a maximum minimum question, then N actually could act through a point not exactly at the end. N can act through the center, N can act through this end, N can act through anywhere between. Now, exactly where the N acts would need another information probably, which is not in the question. That is why they're asking for an extreme condition. What is the minimum value or maximum value of coefficient of friction? Okay. If this was not an extreme question, extreme as in, you understand the extreme, the word I'm talking about, no? When I say extreme, I mean they're asking for a minimum or maximum value. If this was not that kind of a question, then we would be able to exactly find where normal action, normal contact force acts. Yeah, that is it. Now let me know if somebody did not understand this. Okay, please have a look at it a couple more times. You should be able to understand it. Now let me know if you did not understand. Yapit was asking about toppling condition questions. Yapit, you were asking about toppling questions, no toppling case. Now, did you understand why or how toppling takes place? Okay. Yes, Sudarshan, friction at last can't get. Are you talking about this again? This is again, I think this is just English here. That is just English here. FL is the maximum value that the friction can have. And we found out that friction cannot be less than mg by root 3. Torque of F1. This one. This is not friction. Are you talking about this torque here? This is not friction. This is capital F, this force. Torque due to capital F is capital F multiplied by this perpendicular distance. Okay, line of action of capital F is this. Perpendicular distance from point to the line of action of the force is root 3 a by 2 h. Okay, cool. All right, so that is the case of toppling question. Yapit is not there. Yapit, are you not looking at the screen? Okay. Yeah, I know he is a participant in the class, but physically absent, again, apparently. Okay, in live class, you guys are physically present. Sometimes you are mentally absent. Now you have the opportunity to be physically absent, digitally present, I guess. Am I right? Okay, so let's go to the next question. Another doubt that was asked was this. Now read the question. The figure shown a light ring. A light ring as in it's a ring that has no mass at all. It is a rigid ring, but it has no mass. A light ring with 3 rods, each of mass m, is welded on this ring. The rods form an equilateral triangle. The rigid assembly is released on a rough inclined plane. Determine the minimum value of the coefficient of static friction that will allow pure rolling of the assembly. Okay. Now, this should be any question like we have done for circular objects, circular cross-section objects moving on an inclined plane. What was the formula? Minimum value of coefficient of friction. Mu minimum is equal to tan theta into I by mr square divided by 1 plus I by mr square. I think that was the expression we derived. Okay, minimum coefficient of friction is equal to tan theta into I by mr square divided by 1 plus I by mr square. I think it is in this Jamboard only. Here, this one. Okay, that is the minimum coefficient of friction needed. So the question should be simply that. I don't know why this should be a doubt, but the only thing is here the object is a circular cross-section object, but its moment of inertia is not like anything that we have seen. It's not like a solid cylinder or a sphere or something. It's a new arrangement. So we'll have to find out the moment of inertia expression first, and then we'll move on to the formula back again. Okay, so we'll come back to that formula, leave the formula aside. We'll come back to that formula after finding what is expression for I in terms of radius. This is a circle, and there is an equilateral triangle present inside the circle like this. The circle has no mass at all. The triangle has 3 rods, each of mass m. I am supposed to find the moment of inertia about this axis. Okay, that is idea. Now, if the radius of the circle is r, then tell me what is the length of the rod. If radius of the circle is r, tell me what is the length of the rod. Math students you should be able to do this very, very fast. If r is the radius of the circle in the diagram, tell me what is the length of the rod. All 3 rods are of the same length only. So think about it. Tell me the length of the rod in terms of r. Vijay, correct. Girish, I asked you what is L. Your expression is correct, but your answer is wrong because that does not answer my question. No. What is the length of the rod? Santosh, correct. Wins, correct. Girish Khanna, correct. So here we have 30-degree angle. How do you know this is 30 degree? It is an equilateral triangle. The total angle here is 60 degree. Every median bisects the angle at every vertex also. So this is 30 degree here. You can actually have one more R here, making an angle 30 degree here because of symmetry. Okay. If I drop a perpendicular from the center to any of the sides, then it exactly bisects the side parts. If I drop a perpendicular from centroid of an equilateral triangle, then it bisects the length of every side. So this portion here is just half of the length of the rod. This is R, this is 30 degree, which means half the length of the rod is equal to component of R along 30 degree. So that would be R cos 30 degree. So half the length of the rod, L by 2 let us say, is equal to R cos 30 degree, which is equal to R root 3 by 2. L is equal to R root 3. Cannot forget that. This question. Okay. I'm supposed to find the moment of inertia of the system about that one. Now let us try to find out the moment of inertia of this one rod about this point P. Sorry. About point G, let us say. About point P, moment of inertia of the rod 1. This I'm calling as rod 1. And point P is its midpoint. Moment of inertia of rod 1 about point P is equal to, what is it? ML square by 12? It is ML square by 12. M into, if I write everything in terms of R, M into R square into 3 divided by 12. So it is basically M R square by 4. So moment of inertia of this rod about its midpoint is M R square by 4. Instead of in terms of length, I am writing in terms of r here. I want to find moment of inertia of that rod about G, IG1, let us say. Moment of inertia of the rod 1 about point G. How do you do that? IG1 is equal to IP1 plus M into distance square. Distance means this one, x, let us say, x square. This is equal to IP1 is mr square by 4 plus M into x square is how much? R sine 30 degree, r by 2 whole square. X is nothing but r sine 30 degree, the other component. So mr by 2, m into r by 2 whole square. R by 2 whole square is r square by 4. Mr square by 4 plus mr square by 4 is mr square by 2. So the moment of inertia of this rod, about G axis is mr square by 2. And there are totally how many rods? Moment of inertia of the system, the whole thing, about its center is equal to 3 times mr square by 2 or 3 mr square by 2. Do we understand that or not? Moment of inertia of the whole system about the center is 3 mr square by 2. Now see if I have done any mistake now itself. This is for one rod only. This is for one rod only. Okay. For one rod, it is mr square by 2. So for the whole system, we have to multiply 3 times because there are 3 rods. Do we understand here until here? Right. The ring here is a massless ring. So I don't have to add any mr square to this one. I'm just worried about the total moment of inertia. So mr 3 mr square by 2 is the thing. That is the moment of inertia. Now, if I substitute this moment of inertia in this formula, what do I get? I by mr square is nothing but the coefficient of mr square, 3 by 2. So the numerator, what do we have? Mu minimum is equal to tan theta into I by mr square is 3 by 2 divided by 1 plus 3 by 2 is 5 by 2. 3 by 2 divided by 5 by 2 is 3 by 5 into tan theta. That is the answer. So the minimum coefficient of friction needed for pure rolling of this assembly is 3 by 5 into tan theta. Do we get it? What? Answer given as 1 by 3 tan theta. Tan theta by 3 r. You mean? Was this option present there at all? 3 by 5 tan theta? This option was not given in the question. Okay. Was there a solution given? Was there a solution given? Oh, given? Did it make sense? Did you see the solution? Anyway, so just check out if we have done any mistake anywhere, calculation wise. Otherwise, that is the formula. Moment of inertia of ring is not needed. It's a light ring. It is a light ring. It is not. It has no mass at all. Okay, Girish. We have considered that, but the ring is not. The ring's mass is not given, so don't worry about it. IP1 is equal to ml square by 12. How much is L? L is nothing but R root 3. So R square into 3 divided by 12. mr square by 4. R cos 30 degree, 2r cos 30 degree, root 3r, correct only. Then Ig1 is equal to, I can use parallel access theorem, mr square by 4 plus m into x square. X is nothing but r sine 30 degree. That is straightforward only. Like, I don't see any mistake in our method. This should be fine. Okay. Yeah, I think this is fine. Answer must be 3 tan theta divided by 5. Okay. 1 by 3 tan theta can be an answer only when the, just a second. 1 by 3 is 2 by 6. I by mr square, if it is 2, do we get it? No. If it is 4, 4 by 5. Okay, no. They're saying some x by 1 plus x is equal to 1 by 3, they're saying, right? So 2x by 2 plus 2x is equal to 1 by 3. So 2x is equal to x must be half. So I by mr square is half, they are saying. They would have stopped the question here itself. Maybe that was a mistake. Now for them, I think in that solution, they might is mr square by 2. Okay. They might have written the moment of inertia of the system is mr square by 2. If moment of inertia of the system is mr square by 2, then I by mr square is half. So this will become half divided by 3 by 2, and that is when you get 1 by 3 tan theta. Okay, which means those whoever wrote that solution stopped here itself. Just for one rod, they stopped here. They did not do this 3 multiplied by. I think that was a mistake. They gave the same amount of, okay. One of you please send it to me on WhatsApp. I'll check the solution. Okay, please do that. I got to leave now. See you guys. Bye. Tomorrow we'll discuss maybe 1 or 2 questions. I'll do one thing. Tomorrow I'll give you a set of tricky questions again. Maybe we can discuss them by Thursday or Friday. Okay. All right. See you guys. Bye. Holiday week this time? I don't know. You have to ask Seekers people only. I don't know.